Do you think pleasing people is actually important? And is transparency actually the key to success in a business? I think these are two of the important things that I want to take into this video today. So how's everybody doing? It's Spencer Line here. For those that don't know, I started a brand called Gully Garms in 2012. And as of last year, due to COVID, Brexit, employability issues, I had to close that company and open it in a new capacity. But the goal remained the same. It maintained focusing on being sustainable with what we do and working in the same capacities as a family business. So I want to talk about pleasing people, and I want to talk about the transparency is key. And I think I want to start with this pleasing people thing. So I don't want to say that I'm necessarily a people pleaser type of person, but what I think happens in business, especially when we look at the way that we are, especially when we look at the fact that we put ourselves on the camera, is this feeling and like very close attachment to the fact that we're the person that's representing this very much physically, very much visually as well. And I have no specific case to refer to this with. I'm not really looking at anything in particular from this. It's just I wanted to home in on this pleasing people aspect and how in business we can have this approach. This whole week, I think there's been different things actually that now I tell a lie. It's like, yeah, there's different things that have happened this week that have sort of pinpointed and stood out to me in a sense where a lot of us in business will always just focus on pleasing those people or pleasing everybody, assuming that we can. And sometimes it's really hard to kind of accept that you're not going to please everybody, especially if somebody's a people pleaser. They're not going to like that news. But why I wanted to talk about this is by looking at the business and the business that we're in. So for anybody who doesn't know, I am like a sustainable secondhand vintage activist. That's what I do. Consciously, consistently work on finding like sustainable means and ways of maintaining my business through the ways that I means that I do. And yeah, staying in this field, staying in this ecosystem of sustainability. But a lot of people are new to vintage. A lot of people are new to secondhand selling. And I guess one of the things that's quite important to notice from that is the way that we enter an industry as like into business, and how like that sort of people pleasing element can kind of like sit on your shoulder a little bit and a little bit too closely to your ear, I think sometimes. And what I mean by that is there's an abundance of situations where we can think that we have to please a person. This could look at customer care. This could look at the way that you leave and respond to feedback. This could be the way that people react to what you do and how you operate with your business. But I think the thing that everybody has to remember is that underlying to everything of what you do in business, or underlying to everything of what you do in life that is associated to the people pleasing, is you have to make sure that within your own sense and center that you are doing the right thing, that you are being the right version of yourself, and, you know, being transparent, which kind of connects with the other point that I wanted to bring in a little bit sooner, and about how transparency is the key to that people pleasing, I guess, nature, not even people pleasing, sorry. Transparency is the key to the authenticity. That authenticity then allows you to have almost less pressure on the people pleasing. And even after doing business for 12 years, I'll be totally honest with you, we've become way more transparent over the last few years, and maybe have looked at the way that we please people through the means of the business that we do, or the way that we associate and like deal with people. We've looked at that in a totally different way. Like, I look at all groups that integrate with or interact with whatever we do as communities, whether it's people through the social media platform that we're on right now, whether it's other social media platforms, whether it's in-person endeavors and sort of things. Like, these are all little clusters of communities of people that represent different backgrounds and all this sort of stuff. With that information, there's lots of different people. There's lots of different types of people. And there's lots of different reactions to the different types of people. And the kind of sitting on the fence of like how to be the best for all of those is it's basically you going, I need to adopt and adapt to be different sort of people, different versions of myself in order to please those. And I think that the saying of choose the route that causes the least resistance kind of goes completely against that shape-shifting sort of mentality of like, there's lots of different people, I need to please them in all these different ways. The underlying thing you have to take from that is the minute you homing on the authenticity that you have and the being genuine and transparent to what you're doing to the people that you are trying to either convince, convey, showcase, or, you know, introduce to what you have, is being authentic and almost realizing that you don't have to please anybody other than pleasing yourself. And as a result of the authenticity, it will work in that way. Point is a bit hard to kind of gravitate towards. And I know some of you that may watch this, maybe those that don't get to this point might just think that sometimes I just go on and on tangents and different bits. But you got to understand, I'm not just spinning one or two plates. I'm spinning a lot of plates. And even within the individual spins of individual plates lives like an ecosystem of itself, where each plate has to have an associated customer care, an associated response to those individuals, an understanding of the different demographics that sit within the different plates that are being spun. Kilo sale audience is different to a bundle audience, is different to a Gully Garms audience, is different to a consultancy audience, is different to a live stream audience. And they all have different responses. But the underlying thing is still the same. It's a distribution of physical products. Why does all this need to be something that we talk about now? Because a lot of you might be on an early point in your journey, and you might be really new to selling, and you might be very fixated on the way that you have to represent yourself, how you talk to people. And don't get me wrong, these are all very, very crucial and important points. But one of the things that I think just gets really missed with a lot of what we do is this emotional reaction to things. So obviously everybody knows we've got rational, we've got emotional, and emotional is like 99% of that lead situation, right? You could be going about your day all hunky-dory, and then someone goes, hey, by the way, you're shit. And you'll go, oh no, I have a choice to have an emotional reaction or to have a rational reaction, which is the rational says, why would someone say I'm shit? The emotional is to go, I'm not shit. I'm not shit almost deflects that response that someone's took the time to give out, rather than going, how can I improve what I do there for that person? I know that this might go a little bit counter to what I said, because going with a rational would almost say that you are pleasing the people. But I think it's about understanding the people. There's always going to be people that will leave you bad feedback. And there's always going to be people who don't like what you do. And that's just a part of your own growth and progress, really. The fact that you have the ability to grow and learn and adapt and evolve just shows that the different people are going to see you, and different people are going to either react positively, negatively, but they're going to react. And you have to sort of look at the whole ecosystem of the whole thing and be aware of how you want to react to these situations, I think. So one of the things that's really helped me, one of the things that's really, really allowed me to grow as a person in business, as a person in life, is being transparent. It's being so authentically me, so genuine to who I am, that I have no fear of what people would think of me, because there's not a mask to me. This is just me. So, you know, there's obviously some elements where not everybody tells you everything about them, and there's some things that would say that a private life is a happy life to some extent. But what I've learned about business, what having a business and having to close it and reopening it taught me, and what it humbled me about, is this false identity of I'm here, you all look up at me, I'm this beaming light, I'm shining bright, so come and have a look at what's shining bright and let me shout about things. But the things I'm shouting about are unnecessary voices to shout about. Whereas speaking very frankly and honestly about what you do, and then letting the universe decide what that value of content is. And what I mean by that is, I can put out a video about how much I earn. I've made videos about how much I've made. My whole YouTube encloses a lot more information about me than you probably see here. And that came from accepting the mindset that I had about the business I built, and the sort of pressure I put on myself to please individuals. Now, don't get me wrong. Leaving the pleasing people mindset is difficult. Pleasing people just shows you care and you're passionate and you don't want to have a bad experience with anybody. But the reality is that you might have a bad experience regardless of whether you like it or not. And the only thing that you can control in that situation is how you react to that. Again, not everybody's going to like what you do. And the fact that you've evolved and adapted in whatever you do at any point just shows that the people that are around you aren't going to always be around you. And the new people that might come and gravitate to, like, this new light that's shining might not like why it's shining and might want to query why it is. And yes, that was a little bit more of a mindful way of saying people will see what you do and they're not always going to like what you do. And how does that relate to business? How does that relate to content? Because it all sits in the same ecosystem. You've got all the spinning plates. You've got all the different places that people can have an opinion. Somebody on TikTok is going to have a different opinion to somebody on Facebook. There might be different little micro demographic groups that change those people. You might sell on Depop and Vinted, and both of them have different demographics, different people that represent different backgrounds. You could have a 50-year-old person buy your top, but also a 15-year-old is looking at the same top. And even though the product remains the same and the people are like varied versions of that, the whole situations that are happening are still the same. It's a person looking at something you do. It's a person either buying, either investing either time, money, or like energy into like consuming or understanding more about what you do. And all of that consumption and investment isn't going to always bring a positive outcome back. Why I want to talk about this now is that I've learned and had to learn how important transparency was from being, opaque, let's say, from being translucent, from being almost like what I'm about, but I'm not going to tell you everything. Like my whole ecosystem of my business model. I save from landfill. We work with sustainable business models. I work in a family capacity. Believe it or not, Marge is my mum. These are facts. These are things that I am publicly and openly happy to share with people without a means of using it to catapult what I do. Another thing that I'm very big on is a soft sell. And I don't mean the band that brought you Tainted Love. I actually do mean the art of selling without trying to sell in people's face. Just seeing me surrounded by clothes is making you think about the clothes that I'm selling. But I'm not actually telling you to go and look at my clothes. I'm just talking. And I'm just talking honestly and authentically about something that's in my mind, something that's on my brain, and you might find use for it. Even with this video itself, if I sit in the shadows of what people might think that I don't even know or that haven't even watched this content and think, oh, there's a group of people that are going to think, God, this guy just talks nonsense. There's a group of people that are going to think, God, what even is this channel? But there's a group of people that will be inspired by it. Another group of people that will be like, that will love the sort of aspect of it, whether it's the family business and all this. So in short, you got to just not give a shit what anybody's like thinking about what you do. And it doesn't mean to be rude in the process of not giving a shit. You've just got to be the you that you want to be. And the me that I want to be, the me that I found, was the person that is authentic and transparent and smiles and lives in abundance. Abundance for me is that everything I have right now is all I need, and I don't need anything else to improve who I am. I don't need to improve anything about who I am as a result of things that I would own or things that I would accrue and accumulate. I don't need this to go anywhere where it doesn't need to go. Where it is right now is where it's supposed to be. And if it blows up and grows like even more than I believe, then it grows and it blows more than I believe. And if it shrinks, then it shrinks. But the only thing that would be a consistent theme in all of this is my approach to my authenticity of the transparency that I want to give to you guys and anybody who consumes this. I almost sit in a pool of people that I have people that message me and say that the videos like help them in a positive way because they're in a bad way, and people that use the videos to be inspired by it, and all of these different pools of people that gravitate towards different bits of content. How would you be able to ever make something that everybody would like? It's the same as how you could have a situation with business that is going to appease and please absolutely every single different type of person. It's not. And certain things we can sit in our head about. And I guess 3 big key things that I would say, right? You're rational, not your emotional. Your transparency and your authenticity. And your emphasis on just being you in what you do. a lot of the tips that I might give you might be perceived as very mindful and less like, this is how you would do this. You know, there's all strategies to things. But I think that everything can be stripped down to a very mindful approach. Because if you take away everything that you see right now, what are we left with? We're left with ourselves. And what's ourselves? Our mind, our being, our existing. We're not human doings. We're human beings. So we're here in this space. And this space that's being occupied by me right now and that you are watching is, I think I'm supposed to be here in this moment of time to just share what I think about stuff, and just share my experiences. Again, I represent somebody who ran a business for 12 years, occupying 20 members of staff, in-house, out of house, multiple different parts of it in a subsection, modeling agencies, different branches to, you know, the way that we was working and shooting. And I built this with a team of people that I called friends and that I had around me at the time. And it changed and I had to adapt and evolve and grow out of that. And I don't live in the shadows of romanticizing what was. It's just that that's my story. And that's the story that exists because that's what happened. And I can be a man about it, or I can be a person about it to take accountability for what was and what it became. I don't live in regrets of anything that happened. And I stand by what happened with business was what was supposed to. I think this is another thing. People would like to sit there and go, I could do this and I could do this differently. Whatever you want to do is what you should do. You should listen to your gut and you should just do that. If that's telling you this is too much for you right now, then don't do it. If this is telling you that this is the thing for you and there's something about it that you're like, I'm curious, but I need to get more into that, then run with that. Find that curiosity. Because I found my curiosity in learning more about how I would be authentic through being more rational in business, being more emotional as a person, understanding the difference in customer care and community being, building different types of, not different types of authenticity, but just building different types of me internally, and how that one version that you see is an authentic transferred version to all. Now, I know some of this is going to go over some people's heads as just like nonsense chat. And if so, then this content really wasn't meant for you. I do genuinely think that we all got stuff to say. And for those that listen to it and it resonates with them, it was your time to listen to it and hear it. I take whatever this TikTok train of like, you know, growth and stuff like that as this is just a moment of time that people are finding what they're finding. But along the journey to discovering the content that I do, or on the journey to discovering yourself and your own version of authenticity, just be kind to yourself with it. And don't sit too heavy on this presence of, or pressure of feeling like you need to please people. Please people through like the business that you do, whether it's getting a 1-star feedback and being angry about a customer, whether it's the way that somebody didn't like what you had to offer them, whether somebody thought that what you said was invalid. Take this all as rational responses. And just remember that like whatever you're choosing to put out there into the world, whatever energy of yours you're choosing to share with anybody else, whether it's a reaction or a response to a review, or whether it's an in-person community conversation or some sort of customer care, be authentic with it. Be authentically you with it. And as long as you're authentically you, I don't think that the people pleasing even matters. Because I think the right people will be pleased as a result of the right version of your authenticity. And, you know, on that mindful note, I think that's quite a heavy one to kind of go with, isn't it? But I'm learning this side of being a personal brand. I've been doing this for like a year to 2 years. There's starting to be some points of like traction where there's like, oh my goodness, we're getting some wiggle room, we're growing. But even the thing that I sit and do right now is being still in the chaos. I have multiple streams and avenues that I do. This space isn't occupied by one business at one time that I run. It's, you know, occupied by multiple, lots of different staff that work in different capacities of different parts of it. But being still in the calm, in the chaos, being still in the chaos and trying to find the calm, that's where I exist. That's where I exist. And within that space as well, there's my authentic self that's out there. And I'll be honest, I'm still learning the art of like not pleasing everybody. And that is something that just shows you're a good, honest person, that you want to please people. But you shouldn't want to please people. You should just want to be authentically you. I think that's the message I've got for this today. If there's anything you ever want to ask about anything more, mindful sort of topics are things that I would love to go into a bit more, because yes, I've done business, but I also learned a lot about the mindful meditative side of myself and the inner being of me as a result of closing a company, which I think for those that are starting into business is something that might be of interest to you. So if anybody wants to engage with anything over there and leave a comment and let me know, feel free to. If you get to this point, like, big ups to you. You are a real one. You're all real ones, but you're like an extra special real one. But no, honestly, guys, I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you that take the time to give me constructive criticism, that take your time to tell me honestly what you think of me, the time to tell me that the content helps or the content doesn't help, or an opinion, or feedback and critique, whatever it is. Thank you. You took the time to use your energy and share that in my space, so I can only be grateful for you to share that with me. And most importantly, I wish you nothing but a sustainable future, and to maintain, my tummy's grumbling now, it's hungry, to just maintain a good sense of being. Be nice to people and you'll have nice received back to you. And just be authentic, and stay safe, stay sustainable, and keep doing you. And I will see all of you lovely people on another video, probably in a couple of scrolls up. So I do apologize in advance. I know there's a lot of videos. If there's too many, you know what to do. But yeah, guys, honestly, I'm out. Appreciate you all. Lots of love in a bit.